shining so spectacular. Open up your aperture. You don't like the light that I be shining, bitch, you Dracula. Southern draw vernacular, flip you like a spatula. Knew that I was built to put this world up on my scapula. I've been on this road so long, my tires bald. I don't wanna text and no, I don't wanna call. Came in this shit running, but you don't know how to crawl. We ain't never folding, I'm holding the highest car. Look, okay, grew up running post routes. Now I'm on the cash route. Better call the plumber, that boy spitting like a bass spout. All these bad women in this club, fuck is you mad about? Word to all my estheticians, boy, I'm about to lash out. Straight from St. John's to the east side, jigging since a knee high. Watch the way I put on for my state, nigga, yeehaw. Respecting no one die. Crazy how I made it to the league from the bleach eyes. Boy, my shit hair wrong, black, rich, and bare arms. Smoking on that Geoge, this shit stronger than some bare arms. Goku, I'm in rare form, you cannot prepare for him. When I swing, it's like a carnivore, this shit ain't fair for him. Brought intellect back to this rap shit. You niggas need chapstick. Shit been dry for way too long, and I'm the matchstick. You niggas Nickelodeon me, I'm more like Cap Nick. Cap a nigga, throw him in. Party favors on the table, you can pick and choose. I would be lying if I said that I don't get confused. I'm just a player in the game and I don't pick the rule. Why trouble always seem to find the ones with shit to lose. About to blow like we just lit the fuse. We double dutch into this dough, I get this shit in twos. Push the button, get it started, put that shit in cruise. A little dust up on his heart, I barely get to use. A fool flatters himself, a wise man flatters a fool. Man, I just came to get it started like mechanics with tools. Cause in my hood, if you don't pack a tool, you planning to lose. These young boys deserve Oscars, they be acting a fool. A couple loose screws, but they hammer accurate. Ooh, I know some niggas stuck on drugs and manufacture it too. School of hard knocks, we all got our bachelor's. Food, no cap and gowns, but we all had to master. Party favors on the table, you can pick and choose. I would be lying if I said it, I don't get confused. I'm just a player in the game and I don't pick the rule. Why trouble always seem to find the ones with shit to lose. I'm lit, it's about to be a late night. Fresh wax, shawty, show me what it tastes like. Niggas know me in my city like I'm Wayne Wright. Got them looking up to me and we the same height. Ooh, I got it bad, deep in my bag. Foot on the gas, they cannot last. Swimming with the sharks, bitch, that's a great white. Never stopping, we don't even need no brake lights. Say she don't smoke, but she always smoke with me, yeah. Backwards in the air, back up in the ovaries, yeah. All my ops, they stay running like they over easy. Even my masseuses can't just get too close to me, yeah. Shout out to Next, soon as the ink dry, we count out the checks, yeah. I never flex, I bought up a business, you bought up a section. I'm at the top of my class, yeah. Y'all never learned from your lesson. Skywalker gave me the force, yeah. Turn this into an obsession, yeah. I couldn't wait on the team, cooking shit up with just me run play, yeah. Things never are what they seem, but we know the facts, yeah. Charging that shit to the game, but now I pull up with a battery pack, yeah. The bigger they are, the harder they fall, and we can just leave it at that. I'm dumb lit, it's about to be a late night. Fresh wax, shawty, show me what it tastes like. Niggas know me in my city like I'm Wayne Wright. Got them looking up to me and we the same height. Ooh, I got it bad, deep in my bag. Foot on the gas, they cannot last. Swimming with the sharks, bitch, that's a great white. Never stopping, we don't even need no brake lights. Big bro, why they call you big bro? Every time we hit the bank, we deposit zip codes. Well connected with the streets like we out in ski.
What's good, everybody? Welcome to the Pull Up Show. I'm your host, Mr. BJ Matthews, aka B Jizzle. Before we get started, follow us on the YouTube page, the Pull Up Basketball Podcast. Like, share, survive. Hit that like button. Y'all come in here to share, subscribe. Hit that Cash App. $ Slick Rick 1990. $ Slick Rick 1990 is our Cash App. You guys can donate to y'all. All right. So sorry about that, y'all. I want to get into this subject real quick, man. There was a live that we did a couple days ago on Clippers Talk, and you know, with people in the panel, they talk a lot about basketball. You know, shout out to my people, you know, Monty, Skills, Taz, Mike, JM, everybody that's chimed in on this topic. And it's surrounding Paul George, man. There's a question going around, is he a first ballot Hall of Famer? So I want to play a little bit of a clip that kind of presumed me to actually do this. And I'm gonna kind of, dove into it because I more so listened in yesterday or a couple days ago than really chimed in myself. So we're gonna let Draymond Green speak on the subject. Gilbert Arenas spoke on it as well. Chandler Parsons. So this question right here is coming to Draymond Green. Is Paul George a first ballot Hall of Famer? So we're gonna get right into it. Here we go.
Paul George a first ballot Hall of Famer?
I say 1,000%. Paul George got like 9 All-Star appearances. He got several All-NBA appearances. He has a gold medal. He has somewhere close to 20,000 points, I'm sure. If you look at some of the people that are in the Hall of Fame, Paul George had better careers than them. Paul George is absolutely a first ballot Hall of Famer with the body of work that he has. Are there some things you don't like about Paul George? You can say he didn't win. You can say whatever you want. They may be valid, maybe not. Didn't win is valid, okay. Is he soft? That's your opinion. Don't really matter. Paul George resume says first ballot Hall of Fame. If you remove Paul George's name from his resume, which then forces you to remove your feelings about Paul George, and you put his resume there and remove the feelings, remove the face, remove the name, that's a first ballot Hall of Fame resume. Point blank, period.
It's Paul George.
All right. So as y'all come in here, hit that like button, hit the share, subscribe. So again, man, I was listening more into the show yesterday, and people had their opinions. Like I said, a lot of times on the show, bro, I go into a whole 45-minute hour spill on lives. Where I'm done, I'll kind of like let y'all kind of dictate the show. I like stay on. I'll be doing other stuff, and I let the show just go live. If I'm on my phone or on the computer at home, I'll just sit back and listen. But a lot of people had their thoughts about this subject, because somebody had brought it up. They said they think that Paul George could end back with the Clippers. I think Monty said that. And then they, went into, further with the conversation. And this conversation came on. So I think it's a good topic to discuss. Is Paul George a first ballot Hall of Famer? Now, PG, he's still playing, so the fact that this is even a conversation while he's still playing, and he's not even, I know he got hurt. I know people need to also understand, he was playing hurt this whole entire season. He started off the season with, an injury. He gets injured again, and he got injured again to end this season. So this Paul George that y'all saw this season was basically a Paul George that got, hurt 3 separate times. He would play well in the stretch, and then he get hurt. You play well in the stretch, you get hurt. And then you look at again, you get hurt towards the end of the season. Sixers having injuries to Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey gets shut down as well. Jared McCain gets hurt. Eric Gordon, Kyle Lowry and out the lineup, Caleb Martin. Like, it was a whole bunch of stuff. They're pretty much done throughout the, the start of the season, right? So the Paul George I saw last year, who was having his best shooting splits, almost all NBA third team, is not the Paul George that y'all saw this year based off of what was going on with Philly. So that's how that whole conversation got brought back, that he might come back to the Clippers. So let's do this first. Is he a first ballot Hall of Famer? So we got to look at the guys who are on the first ballot Hall of Fame as it is. So right now, they are a total of, 54 people who are first ballot Hall of Famers. Right? 54. 54 people. Now, when you look at that, you got to look at, okay, how do we even measure this? How do you determine if you're a first ballot Hall of Famer? Who determines this? Well, there's a ballot like anything else, like the, NFL Hall of Fame or MLB and, all that stuff, all the major sports. they have ballots to determine if they deserve, like, you know, you get basically, you enter in after so many years if you retire, and then you get a chance to see if you're going to be in the Hall of Fame based off the committee that votes you in or not. So based off of this list, this is who the committee feels, you know, should be in the Hall of Fame or not. So looking at this, these are all the players that's in the Hall of Fame first ballot. Now, there's more players that are, you know, Hall of Famers. They're just not first ballot Hall of Famers. So these are the cream of the crop, right? Now, Draymond Green said that Paul George had better resumes than people on this list, and like I said, Paul George is still playing. So the fact that this is even a discussion right now shows you that there's some merit there. Not to mention, I think Paul George has a 97% chance of making the Hall of Fame. If I'm not mistaken, 97%. You know, we can recap that after. But 97%, I believe that's higher than Kawhi Leonard's and Kyrie Irving and Damian Lillard. You know, that might be a hard thing to believe, but I think he has a higher percentage than Kawhi Leonard, Damian Lillard, and Kyrie Irving. But again, those guys are still playing as well. So we'll see as time goes on. But these guys are retired. So like we did yesterday, they saw a few of the players that they actually seen at our first ballot Hall of Famers. And then this became a very, you know, hot topic. They went from player to player. And let me show y'all. This is actually the picture. He said Draymond Green sees Paul George as a first ballot Hall of Famer. So that word first ballot goes a long way, where people hear it and they're like, oh, that's the cream of the crop. And it is. Those are the players that are the best of the best. A certain, you know, select group of company based off of their body of work. And Draymond Green sees Paul George as a first ballot Hall of Famer. This picture right here has been around a lot. You see Grant Hill and Tracy McGrady, and you see Paul George on the right. And underneath Tracy McGrady and Grant Hill, you see first ballot. So those are first ballot Hall of Famers right here. Grant Hill, 7-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA. Tracy McGrady, 7-time All-Star, 7-time All-NBA. Paul George, 9-time All-Star, 6-time All-NBA, 4-time All-Defense. So these little pictures right here are found a lot. So when you look at the totality of everything, let's compare and contrast some of these players on this list. All right, let's go to the first person. Let's go to Vince Carter, because like what I want to do, I want to make this as simple as possible for everybody to understand. It's tough to evaluate players who are in a different position, who are centers or who are point guards, because they're asked to do different things, right? So I like to compare apples to apples. You know, what position does Paul George play, guard and forward? So we're going to compare him to guards and forwards on this list, one by one. Now, of course, the obvious ones like the Kobe Bryants and the Dwayne Wades and guys like that, nah, we're not going to do that, because, you know, obviously those guys have accomplished more than Paul George on a totality level. Like Kobe Bryant's the second greatest shooting guard of all time. Dwayne Wade is the third greatest shooting guard of all time, in my personal opinion. Jerry West is up there as well. So those players are in their own right. But guys that, you know, we're going to go into, let's start with Vince Carter. Let's start with the first name, Vince Carter. Let's compare and contrast, because everybody, you know, come here like that light button. Is Paul George a first ballot Hall of Famer based off the list that we just saw? Let's go into the first guy right here. Let's go to Vince Carter and Paul George comparison of their careers. 1 second. So resumes. Vince Carter and Paul George comparison. Let's go through this swiftly. Vince Carter, 22 seasons to Paul George's 15. Playoffs played, 11-11 apiece. Paul George has 9 All-Star games to Vince Carter's 8. Looking at the honors awards, Paul George 1 All-NBA first team, Vince Carter 0. All-NBA teams, Paul George 6, Vince Carter 2. All-defensive first team 0 to Paul George's 2. All-defensive teams 0 for Vince, 4 for Paul. Steals leader in the league. 1 goes to Paul, 0 goes to Vince, and then Rookie of the Year, Vince has 1 to Paul George's 0. So honors and awards, Paul George has 4 out of 5 categories over Vince Carter. Let's look at the stats. Look at the numbers, the statistics. Paul George averaging 20 points per game to 16 points for Vince. 6.3 rebounds to 4.3 rebounds for Vince. Assists 3.7 for PG, 3.1 for Vince. Steals per game 1.7 for PG, 1.0 for Vince. Blocks per game 0.6 for Vince, 0.4 to PG. So 4 out of 5 of those categories for the regular season stats go to PG. I don't really look at the totals because, again, when you look at the totals, like I said, Paul's still playing. So you gotta wait till their careers are done to even compare the total stats. You have to go by the averages because the averages determine like game by game. They don't determine your totality, right? Because he got 7 years of experience. You got to look at the statistics. You look at the playoff stats. Paul George 21 points per game to Vince's 18 points per game. Rebounds 7.5 to 5.4 for Vince. Assists 4.1 to 3.4 for Vince. Steals 1.5 for PG, 1.1 for Vince, and they both are 0.5 apiece. So Paul George 4 out of 5 categories over Vince, and they both tie on blocks per game. That's the regular season percentages. Paul 42% to Vince's 41%. 3-point percentage 35 for Paul George, 33% for Vince. Field goal percentage 82 for PG, 79% for Vince. So PG beats him out there in every single category, shooting splits. Now the best playoffs, right? Best playoffs that they had. Vince 29 points per game to PG's 28. Rebounds 9.6 to Vince Carter's 8.5. Assists 7.3 for PG to 6.3 for Vince. Steals 2.2 for PG, set 2.3 for Vince. And blocks per game, 2 blocks to Vince Carter, 1.7. Now this one's important because this is their peak. See, again, you can't really measure their totality, but you can evaluate their peaks. So this shows who had the higher peak as far as the playoffs are concerned. So 3 out of 5 categories, PG beats Vince Carter out on points, assists, and blocks. So on totality, based off of the honors and awards, based off the stats, based off their peaks, based off of the shooting percentage and shooting splits, PG beats Vince Carter out. Now, Vince Carter, I think a lot of times people look at him as such a, exciting player. So I kind of think he gets graded by a curve, if you want to be honest about it. Right? Best dunker of all time, yes. Highlight reel, yes. As far as the resumes compared to Paul George, Vince Carter, Paul George had a better career, and his career is not even done. He's only played 7. He's played 7 less seasons than Vince Carter. Right? Has had more playoff success. I don't even think Vince Carter made it to the conference finals in his career. I think he's made it only as past the second round. I think his highlight reel was that 2001 against Allen Iverson. That's where Vince Carter got most of his pub from. But I think in 22 years, he never even made it past the first round or past the second round. And that's East and West. He was with New Jersey. He's with Toronto. He is with Dallas. You know what I'm saying? He was with a bunch of teams. So, great talent. PG beats Vince Carter out, who's the first ballot Hall of Famer. Dwayne Wade, like I said, Dwayne Wade definitely clears Paul George. Second best shooting guard, third best shooting guard of all time. Let's go into and then you got Kobe Bryant. Definitely over Paul George. Let's go to Ray Allen. Let's talk about him. Jesus. Let's go to Ray Allen, y'all. Let's go to Ray Allen, Paul George comparison. Go ahead and drop this. Ooh. So let's get into Paul George and Ray Allen. Ray Allen and Paul George. This is a good one right here, too. Both play similar position, shooting guard. You look at Ray Allen, 2 championships to Paul George's 0. NBA seasons, Paul George 15 and Ray Allen's 18. They both played 11 playoffs apiece. All-Star games, Ray Allen 10 to Paul George's 9. Get more into the honors and awards. Paul George, All-NBA first team 1 time, Ray Allen 0. All-NBA team 6 for Paul George, 2 for Ray Allen. All defensive first team 2 for Paul George, 0 for Ray Allen. All defensive teams 4 to Ray Allen 0. Steals leader Paul George at 1 to Ray Allen 0. So every single category, Paul George beats Ray Allen out in all 5 of those. Stats per game, regular season right here. 20 points per game to 18 for Ray Allen. Rebounds per game, 6.3 for PG, 4.1 for Ray Allen. Assists per game, 3.7 for Paul George, 3.4 for Ray Allen. Steals per game, 1.7 for Paul George, 1.1 for Ray Allen. Blocks per game, 0.2 for Ray Allen, 0.4 for Paul George. Paul George clears in all 5 categories as well. And the stats per game. Shooting splits. Ray Allen, 45% from the field to Paul George, 44. 3-point percentage, 40% for Ray Allen, 38% from Paul George. Now, this is an interesting one because, again, people remember Ray Allen more as a 3-point shooter as far as the millennials now. But Ray Allen used to be a slasher. He wasn't really much of a 3-point threat in Milwaukee and Seattle. He always had a beautiful jump shot, but he was more of a slasher. He didn't really get known as a 3-point specialist until he got to Boston and Miami. But prior to that, Ray Allen was pretty much all slash to the basket, mid-range pull-up, stuff like that. He wasn't like a guy staying on the perimeter just shooting threes. So with Paul George, he's top 10 all-time in three-pointers made. That's why I kind of say why he actually is, not too far behind Ray Allen 3-point percentage. Free throws, 89 for Ray Allen, 85 for Paul George. So Ray Allen beats Paul George in all 3 of the shooting splits. All right, best season for Paul George, 28 points per game to Ray Allen's 26. Rebounds per game, 8.2 to 5.2 goes to Paul George. Assists per game, 5.7 to 4.8 goes to Paul George. Steals per game, 2.2 to 1.5 goes to Paul George. Blocks per game, 0.6 to 0.3 goes to Paul George. All 5 categories at its peak in the regular season. Paul George wins that one over Ray Allen. Let's go into the playoffs. Points per game, 21.2 to 16.1 goes to Paul George. Rebounds per game, 7.5 to 3.8 goes to Paul George. Assists per game, 2.6 to 4.1 goes to Paul George. Steals per game, 1.5 to 1.0 goes to Paul George. Blocks per game, 0.2 to 0.5 goes to Paul George. Paul George beats him in that category in the playoffs as well. Let's go to best playoffs at their peaks. So we're rating their peaks and their totality, right? So peak playoffs, points per game, 28.6 goes to 26.5 goes to Paul George. Rebounds per game, 9.6 to 7.3 goes to Paul George. Assists per game, 6.0 to 7.3 goes to Paul George. Steals per game, 2.2 to 1.6 goes to Paul George. Blocks per game, 2.0 to 0.6 go to Paul George. So he beats him out in all statistical categories outside of shooting splits. He has more honors and awards. Better at his peak, better totality. Played 3 less seasons. Plays both ways of the basketball. The main difference, the main thing that puts Ray Allen over Paul George, if you wanted to make a case, was the championships, right? The one in Boston and one in Miami. Of course, the one in Miami, he was, pretty much relegated as a role player. In Boston, he was, the third option for sure. Paul George ain't never been a third option in his whole entire career up into this season. And y'all saw that fit didn't really work out for him. So resume-wise, player-wise, totality, peak, Paul George, we can all agree, has had a better career than Ray Allen, other than the championships. So both Vince Carter and Ray Allen, he has a better career. Let's go to Ray Allen's teammate. Y'all hit the light bench. I'll come here. Let's go to Paul Pierce. Who is Ray Allen's teammate. They're both guard and forward. So this should be actually an interesting one. Right here. Right? Let's go into the numbers. Let's go into the accomplishments. Let's go into the style of play. Let's go into what they've done at their peaks. Now let's talk about this. Championships. Paul Pierce has 1 to Paul George's 0. NBA seasons. Paul Pierce has played 4 over PG, 19 to 15. Playoffs played. Pierce has played 14 over Paul George's 11. All-Star games, Paul Pierce has 10 over 9 over Paul George. So totality, really the All-Star games and the playoffs played and the championships go to Paul Pierce. Going to the honors and awards. Finals MVP, Paul Pierce has 1 to PG 0. All NBA first team, PG has 1 to Paul Pierce's 0. All NBA team, 6 goes to Paul George. 6 to 4 goes to Paul George. All defensive first team, 2 to 0 goes to Paul George. All defensive teams, 4 to 0 goes to Paul George. Steals leader in the league, 1-0 goes to Paul George. He beats him out in every single category outside of the Finals MVP. That's 4 to 5 categories goes to Paul George. Regular season stats, points per game, 20.6 to 19.7 goes to Paul George. Rebounds per game, 6.3 to 5.6 goes to Paul George. Assists per game, 3.7, 3.5 goes to Paul George. Steals per game, 1.7 to 1.3 goes to Paul George. Blocks per game, 0.4 to 0.6 goes to Paul Pierce. All right, 4 out of 5 categories. Paul wins those with the averages. Percentages, 44% to 44.5 goes to Paul Pierce. 3-point percentage, 38.3 to 36.8 goes to Paul George. Free throw percentage, 85% to 80% goes to Paul George. So 2 out of 3 categories goes to PG there. Their peak, their best seasons, 28 points per game to 26.8 goes to PG. Rebounds per game, 8.2 to 7.3 goes to PG. Assists per game, 5.7 to 5.1 goes to PG. 2.2 steals per game, 2.2 to 2.1 goes to PG. 0.6 to 1.0 blocks per game goes to Paul Pierce. All right, that's their best season, right? So 4 out of 5 category goes to Paul George there. You go into the NBA playoff stats. Get into the playoffs. 21.2 to 18.7 goes to Paul George, points per game. Rebounds per game, 7.5 to 5.8 goes to Paul George. Assists per game, 4.1 to 3.4 goes to Paul George. Steals per game, 1.5 to 1.2 goes to Paul George. Blocks per game, 0.5 to 0.6 goes to Paul George. So Paul George, 4 out of 5 categories wins out there. And the playoffs percentage is 42.3% identical PG and Paul George or Paul Pierce. 3-point percentage 35.2 to 35.5% goes to Paul Pierce. Free throw percentage is 82.6 to 83% even goes to Paul Pierce. So 2 out of 3 categories goes to Paul Pierce, and they both tied at field goal percentage. Best playoffs right here. This is their peak at the playoff position. Y'all hit that like button. Y'all come in here. All right. Best playoffs, 28.6 per game to 27.1 goes to Paul George. Rebounds per game, 9.6 to 9.0 goes to Paul George. Assists per game, 7.3 to 6.7 goes to Paul George. Steals per game, 2.2 to 2.1 goes to Paul George. Blocks per game, 2.0 to 2.00 to 1.4 goes to Paul George. So the playoffs at the peak, the playoffs at the season, Paul George beats Paul Pierce out. The percentages go to Paul Pierce in the playoffs. The regular season stats go to Paul George. Best season goes to Paul George. The percentages in the season go to Paul George. Stats overall, their careers goes to Paul George. Honors and awards go to Paul George. So really the only thing that Paul Pierce has over Paul George is the championship, the Finals MVPs, and the All-Star games. Yeah. So as far as career goes, again, the championship is what, kind of like Ray Allen, the championship that's what puts it more like, if you want to make an argument for Paul Pierce, that's what you'll say as far as, he has had a better career. It was the championship. But as far as the individual performances, the playoff performances, as far as how far he's taken his team, what he can do on the court, his weaknesses, I think PG has edged out Paul Pierce and Ray Allen. This is an interesting one because I don't think people really thought Paul George and Paul Pierce was this close. I didn't think they were this close too. But yeah, so the 3 out of guys, Vince Carter, he's had a better career than Vince Carter for sure. Ray Allen, he's had a better career, and then Paul Pierce is debatable, but it's really debatable because of the championship. I'm really just making the case as if, you know, when I hear people say he shouldn't be even a first ballot or let alone a Hall of Famer, I'm going back to what Draymond Green said. If you remove his name and his picture and you just put his accolades on there, his stats on there, right? His accomplishments, if you just put them side to side with Tracy McGrady and Grant Hill, which I'm going to go into these two next, at their positions, are y'all still saying the same thing? And something else he does than all those other few people that don't do, he's an all NBA defensive player. These guys don't do that. Grant Hill don't do that. Tracy McGrady is, because I heard OC say this yesterday, and he's actually correct. Tracy McGrady does have stints where he plays defense, but he's not on Paul George's level defensively whatsoever. He has no All-NBA defensive teams. And that's kind of what I put the edge, like I put a lot of stock into. Well, bro, like if you're playing defense at an All-NBA level, bro, that you're a special you're a special player, because anybody can go out there with that talent and score 25, 30 points. But if you're not on the other end and you're able to stop players, bro, that makes you even more. That makes you cream of the crop. There's only so many two-way elite players of all time who's won all defensive, all defensive teams, has been top in the race in the defensive player of the year. So that's very important. But let me go into let's go into Tracy McGrady. Now, Tracy McGrady, people compare Paul George to a lot. They compare their games to. I think Paul George said Tracy McGrady is somebody he looked up to next to Kobe. So, you know, both of them are similar in size. Paul George, I think, is probably like an inch taller than T-Mac. But they have similar games and stuff like that if you watch them. But so this is a good comparison. Now, Paul George, 15 seasons to Tracy McGrady, 16. So it's pretty similar in seasons. So you can kind of measure them. Now, no, I ain't going to even say that, because Tracy McGrady and Paul George, they both dealt with injuries throughout their careers where they've missed seasons and they've missed playoffs and stuff like that because of injuries. So it kind of goes hand in hand. But I would say Tracy McGrady, because of his knees, his totality kind of took a hit, where Paul George has found a way to actually adapt to his injuries, right? So that has to be taken into account as well when you measure the two. But let's get into it. 11 playoffs played, 11-9 goes to Paul George. All-Star games, 9-7 goes to Paul George. Honors and awards. All-NBA first team, 1-2 goes to T-Mac. All-NBA team, 6-7 goes to T-Mac. All defensive first team, 2-0 goes to Paul George. All defensive teams, 4-0 goes to Paul George. Scoring leader, 0-2 goes to Tracy McGrady. Steals leader, 1-0 goes to Paul George. So, what is this? 3 out of 5 categories T-Mac beats PG out of. All NBA first team, all NBA teams, right? All defensive first teams go to PG. Scoring leader, T-Mac has over Paul George, and steal leaders, Paul George has over Tracy McGrady. Let's go into the regular season stats. 20.6 to 19.6 goes to PG. 6.3 to 5.6 goes to PG. 3.7 to 4.4 goes to Tracy McGrady in assists. Steals per game, 1.7 to 1.2 goes to PG. 0.4 blocks per game, 0.4 to 0.9 goes to T-Mac. All right. Sorry, y'all. Total points. Oh, we're not going to total points yet. Shooting percentage is 44 percentage to 43.5 goes to Paul George. 3-point percentage, 38.3 to 33.8 goes to Paul George. Free throw percentage, 85.3 to 74.6 goes to Paul George. So shooting percentages goes to PG in that aspect as well. Best season. Their best season. This is their peaks in the regular season. 28 points per game to 32.1 goes to Tracy McGrady, points per game. Rebounds, 8.2 to 7.9 goes to Paul George. 5.7 to 6.5 assists goes to Tracy McGrady. 2.2 to 1.7 goes to Paul George. Steals 0.6 to 1.9 goes to Tracy McGrady. So he beats him out at his peak in the regular season as far as the statistic. Tracy McGrady over Paul George. Playoff stats right here. Tracy McGrady at 22.2 points per game, 21.2 for Paul George. 7.5 to 5.7 goes to Paul George. Rebounds. Assists 4.1 to 5.0 goes to T-Mac. Steals per game 1.5 to 1.1 goes to T-Mac. Blocks per game 0.5 to 0.9 goes to T-Mac. Or Paul George. So 3 out of 5 categories, T-Mac beats him out in the playoffs, and 3 out of 5 their best season. Let's look at their peak. Let's look at their peaks in the playoffs. In the playoffs, 28.6 to 33.8 goes to Tracy McGrady. That's points per game. Rebounds, 9.6 to 8.2 goes to Paul George. Assists per game, 7.3 to 8.3 goes to Tracy McGrady. Steals per game, 2.2 to 2.0 goes to Paul George. Blocks per game, 2.0 to 1.8 goes to Paul George. So 3 out of 5 categories in the playoffs at their peak, Paul George beats Tracy McGrady out of. So this one, if you look at the honors and awards, T-Mac beats him out in 3 out of 5 categories. If you look at their regular season stats, Paul George beats out T-Mac in the regular season stats. If you look at their peaks, T-Mac has the better season. Paul George has the better playoffs. You look at their shooting percentages, Paul George has a better shooting percentage splits. Now, this one you got to go a little bit deeper as well, because if you look at everything matched up on their resumes, right, and in the All-Star games, Paul George has 9 to T-Mac 7. If you look at their resumes individually, they're really close. Even though I'll give it to PG on that end, but I also got to look at also, like I said, the best careers and resumes. Paul George has led his team to 3 conference finals as the guy. Tracy McGrady not making out the first round in his 16-year career until he got to the Spurs, where he was pretty much at the tail end, where he's pretty much on the bench. That means a lot because, I heard OC say in the comments where T-Mac, he never had his teams weren't good enough. So if your team, you're telling me in 16 season, your team wasn't good enough, bro, something's wrong. And I watched T-Mac a lot in the 2000s, bro. Remember, Kobe was my favorite player. So T-Mac was kind of like rivaling with Kobe for like the first part of the 2000s. Him, AI, Vince Carter, those were like the cream of the crop. So I watched a lot of Tracy McGrady. There was a series against the Detroit Pistons. They were up 3-1. They lost that series. Now, Doc Rivers was the coach. You got to give him that flack. Okay, cool. You lost up against the Dallas Mavericks in 2000, I believe 2006 in the first round. You guys were up 2-0. Y'all won 2 games in Dallas. And then y'all lose 2 games back in Houston, and then y'all losing 7 games that series. Right? And if I'm not mistaken, there were some other playoff series as well he lost in. So that goes against you. So that, in my personal opinion, he's had more playoff success as well than Tracy McGrady. As far as a resume is concerned and his ability to win, I mean, I would give the PG over T-Mac as well. He's a first ballot. And I can understand people say, well, T-Mac had a high peak. He had a high peak in this regular season, but in the playoffs, outside of scoring 30-something points, like he wasn't impacting winning. He wasn't impacting winning, and I'm not so sure his rosters were that bad. Like if your team is good enough to get up 3-1, you can't say your team wasn't just pretty much he had nobody around him. So I'm going to go off the fact again, the same way with Grant Hill, the same way with Vince Carter, the same way with Paul Pierce, the same way with Ray Allen. Paul George affects the other side of the basketball. That's very important. That's extremely important. So I would say you got 4 or 5 guys who are in the first ballot Hall of Fame that Paul George had better careers than outside of 2 because of championships. But individual and what they've done as the leader of their teams and the success he's had individually at his position, I mean, he beats them out. Right? I think Paul has like a 97% chance of making the Hall of Fame. It says right here, Paul George higher Hall of Fame probability over former Clippers teammate Kawhi Leonard. PG-13 ranked higher than the Claw in the Hall of Fame priority list. Now, this is why I want to bring up as well, because a person will read this and be like, what the hell? How's that possible? This is why I say I hate narratives, bro. It could be Paul George. It can be Kawhi Leonard. It could be Russell Westbrook. It can be James Harden. It could be, you know what I'm saying, Kyrie Irving. It can be Jason Tatum. Bro, I've spoken up for numerous amount of players. That's why I do this, to speak up for players that actually get a bad name attached to them. It just so happens about, you know, what you know, the situation, how the energy is, and what the weather's like. Those of us that watch Paul George, bro, if you're a real hooper and you're a real student of the game, bro, you know what he has been in his career, and he's still going. Like I said, he still has more basketball left to play. I mean, when he gets healthy and shit. But I said before, the first 4 seasons of Paul George's career, he was a better player than Kawhi Leonard. He was a better basketball player than Kawhi Leonard in his first 4 seasons of his career. Well, actually, yeah, because Paul was taking his team as the guy to deep runs in the conference finals with no Hall of Famers, no All-Stars. You had David West, who was an older version. You had George Hill, who was a solid, legit point guard, but wasn't an all-star point guard. You had Lance Stevenson. You had Roy Hibbert, who was a great defensive specialist by the rim, but can get played off the court because he can't guard. Basically, what I'm saying is he wasn't filled up with stars around him. And he was taking that team to the conference finals 2 years in a row, and he's running into LeBron James, bro. Like, I say this all the time, bro. If he never broke his leg, bro, he could have been the best player in the league because he wasn't scared of LeBron at all. So when I say that he was better than Kawhi the first 4 seasons of his career, he was. What happened was Kawhi Leonard played in a system with Greg Popovich to elevate his game. That's what happened. If Kawhi doesn't have Greg Popovich, he doesn't have the system to teach him, you might not see the Kawhi Leonard that we know and love today. Because, yes, he's ultra talented, ultra gifted, but the high percentage shots that y'all see him shoot, the IQ that he plays with, bro, who do y'all think that came from? Where do y'all think that came from? I've been watching Kawhi since he was in San Diego State. Remember, he's from where he played college. I'm from where he played college ball at. Kawhi was known as a guy who got rebounds. He wasn't a lottery pick. He had to develop his game. Didn't have a great outside shot. Wasn't much of an offensive. Well, I think the Spurs also took that away from him. But coming into the NBA, he wasn't a great outside shooter. He developed his game, got better, worked his ass off, and now y'all see the player that he is, know and love. But as far as when they came into the league, man, Paul was a better player than him. I watched him in college, both of these guys. When Paul was at Fresno State and Kawhi was at San Diego State, Paul was a better player than Kawhi Leonard. The difference is PG never developed the mental aspect. I'm talking about the IQ. The IQ is what he never really developed on the level of Kawhi Leonard. The shot selection. the high IQ plays, picking the game apart. Like those things Kawhi has over Paul George. But again, how is it a guy that don't deserve to be in the first ballot Hall of Fame have a higher percentage over a guy who's, in my personal opinion, top 15, top 20 of all time in Kawhi Leonard? We got to stop making stuff up, man, and stop bringing these narratives out here, bro. And this is just recently. This ain't just this isn't too. This is just this season. Out of all the stuff Kawhi Leonard done accomplished, he has a higher percentage to go into the Hall of Fame over Kawhi Leonard. You know why? Because Kawhi developed later in his career. If you want to say Kawhi at his peak is better than Paul George, that is fair. But as far as the totality of his career and what Paul George is done individually, it's neck and neck. And had they both been healthy at the same time, you're looking at probably 2-3 championships. And I'm not even kidding. Well, I don't know, because you got this guy in the way, bro. I'm telling you, Ty Lue. It's another. I'm gonna make another video on this as well, bro. Ty Lue is he might just be the downfall of the Clippers the last 3-4 seasons, bro. I'm not even kidding. Because now that I see what I'm seeing right now, and I've got on him before in the past years, it's really showing now because now Kawhi is healthy. So you never know. But back to the discussion. I just named 4 or 5 players that he clears, and 2 out of 5 of them was really only because of the championship. If the championship wasn't there, he would clear him for real. Let's go a little bit deeper. Let's go into some past. Let's give some respect to some of the greats. Let's go to Grant Hill. Paul George versus Grant Hill. Now we know Grant Hill's career at his peak wasn't as great because of injuries. He played 18 seasons to Paul George's 15. Playoffs played 11-8 goes to PG. All-Star games 9-7 goes to PG. Let's get into the honors and awards right here. All-NBA first team PG 1, Grant Hill 1. All-NBA team 6-5 goes to Paul George. All defensive first team 2-0 goes to Paul George. All defensive teams altogether goes to 4-0 goes to Paul George. Steals leader 1-0 goes to Paul George. Rookie of the year 0-1 goes to Grant Hill. 5 out of 6 categories goes to PG. Stats per game 20.6 to 16.7 goes to PG. 6.3 to 6.0 goes to PG. 3.7 to 4.1 goes to Grant Hill. 1.7 to 1.2 goes to Paul George. 0.4 to 0.6 goes to Grant Hill on blocks. 3 out of 5 categories goes to PG on that one. Percentages. Shooting splits. 44% to 48.3 goes to Grant Hill. 3-point percentage 38.3 to 31.4 goes to PG. Free throw percentage 85.3 to 76.9 goes to Grant Hill or Paul George. 2 out of 3 categories goes to Paul George there. Best season, this is their peak. 28 points per game to 25.8 goes to PG. 8.2 to 9.8 goes to Grant Hill. Rebounds, assists per game 5.7 to 7.3 goes to Grant Hill. Steals per game 2.2 to 1.8 goes to PG. 0.6 to 0.9 blocks per game goes to Grant Hill. 3 out of 5 categories best season goes to Grant Hill. Playoff stats, oh my lords, 21.2 to 13.4 goes to Paul George points per game. Damn, 13 points per game in the playoffs. Woo! Now, context. Teams Grant Hill played on makes a difference as well. But again, we're going by their careers. This man's a first ballot Hall of Famer. So we have to look at everything in totality. Playoff stats, 7.5, 6.1 rebounds goes to PG. 4.1 to 3.6 assists per game goes to PG. 1.5 to 0.9 steals per game goes to PG. Blocks per game 0.5 a piece goes to neither. So it's 4 out of 5 category goes to PG there in the playoffs. Let's go to the shooting percent. No, let's go to the best playoffs they had. 28 points to 23.6 goes to PG. Rebounds per game 9.6 to 7.3 goes to PG. Assists per game 7.3 to 7.4 goes to Grant Hill. 2.2 to 2.0 goes to PG. Assists per game, blocks per game 2 to 1 point goes to PG. So was this 4 out of 5 categories, and the best playoffs goes to PG. So shooting splits, playoff stats, Best playoffs at their peak goes to PG. Best season goes to Grant Hill at their peaks. Season stats go to PG as well. Honors and awards go to PG. Out of 4 out of 5 categories. So basically, like I said, injuries really derailed Grant Hill, but even at their peaks in the playoffs, even in his shooting percentages, even his ability to play both sides of the ball, even all that, Paul George beats Grant Hill out. So again, this is a first ballot Hall of Famer that we got listed. You got 2 guys who deservedly, well, I don't even say deservedly. I don't know. That's up for y'all to decide, but they're in the first ballot. And a lot of people will campaign for that. So that's another player that Paul George clears. So that's Grant Hill, that's Vince Carter, that's Tracy McGrady, that's Paul Pierce, that's Ray Allen. Individually, he clears all of them. 2 out of 5 of those players, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, because of the championships. That's where people make the discussion where we got championships. And that's the reason why Draymond Green said what he said. If you say he ain't won, okay, that's the thing. We're going to talk about that as well. But as far as what they have done individually, Paul clears every single one of those players. This is another one. Reggie Miller, first ballot Hall of Famer. Reggie Miller, 18 seasons in the league to Paul George's 15. Playoffs played, Reggie has 15 to Paul George's 11. All-Star games, Paul has 9 to 5 goes to Reggie Miller. Now, Reggie played with Michael Jordan in his era too, so we have to count that as well. So I'm not going to even get really too into all the All-Star games and the All-NBA first teams, All-NBA teams, and all that stuff. Even though Paul played with LeBron against LeBron, even though he had to go up against LeBron and Carmelo Anthony and all players like that, all-time greats like that, Michael Jordan is the GOAT. So we will disclose all that, but the defensive side of the ball yet again shows itself to be prevalent, where these guys do not even get one all-defensive team, bro. Not one of those guys I've named so far has been on one all-defensive team yet. That makes a huge difference. But I digress. We can't go into the stats go. 20 points per game to 18.2 goes to PG. 6.3 to 3.0 goes to PG. 3.7 to 3.0 goes to PG. 1.7 1.1 goes to PG. 0.4 0.2 blocks goes to PG. So all 5 categories go to PG in the stats, in the averages. Shooting percentages, 47% from the field of 44 goes to Reggie Miller. 3-point percentage is 39.5 to 38.3 goes to Reggie Miller. Now, see that again, their 3-point percentages is not that far off. Again, Paul George is top 10 all time in 3-point percentage or 3-pointers made. So he's a very, very good to elite 3-point shooter. Free throws, 85 to 88% goes to Reggie Miller. Points per game, 28 points per game to 24.6. This is their best seasons. Go to Paul George. 8.2 to 3.9 goes to Paul George. Assists per game, 5.7 to 4.0 goes to Paul George. Steals per game, 2.2 to 1.5 goes to Paul George. Blocks per game, 0.6 to 0.4 goes to Paul George. 5 out of 5 goes to Paul George. It's their best season. Let's go into the playoffs. Let's go into, when they were in the postseason. Reggie had some great playoff memories, right? In Indiana, those wars with Michael Jordan, those wars, in the finals with Kobe Bryant, right? Individually, stats, 21.2 to 20.6 goes to Paul George. Rebounds 7.5 to 2.9 goes to Paul George. Assists per game 4.1 to 2.5 goes to Paul George. Steals per game 1.5 to 1.0 goes to Paul George. Blocks per game 0.5, 0.2 goes to Paul George. So all five goes to Paul George in that category. Best playoffs right here. Points per game, 31 points to 28 goes to Reggie Miller. Rebounds, 9.6 to 5.0 goes to Paul George. Assists per game, 7.3 to 4.7 goes to Paul George. Steals per game, 2.2 to 1.6 goes to Paul George. Blocks per game, 2.0 to 0.5 goes to Paul George. So 4 out of 5 category goes to Paul George at their peak in the playoffs in the regular season. Playoffs overall, he beats them out in every category. Season overall, he beats them out in every category. Shooting splits go to Reggie Miller. So I disclosed the honors and awards because, again, when you're talking about Michael Jordan, you're playing behind him. You're probably not gonna get too many All-NBA teams or All-NBA first teams because who you're behind. So I disclosed that. But the statistics, the two-way play, the playoffs, the accomplishments in the playoffs. Reggie Miller made it to the finals with the Pacers in 2000. He made it to the Eastern Conference Finals against the Knicks. Paul George made three conference finals. None of them have a championship. So even when I curve it, bro, for Reggie, I mean, Paul beats him out in damn near everything. So I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be nice. So I think y'all get what I'm saying, bro. Like, the question is he a first ballot Hall of Famer, bro? Like, listen, first of all, what is a Hall of Famer? Well, we got to look at the list on who's on the list. And I named 7 guys who are not Kobe Bryant and not Dwayne Wade that he pretty much clears. Vince Carter, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, Grant Hill, Trace McGrady. All at his position, he clears. Right? Apples to apples. The guard forward position, he pretty much clears all of them. There's talk with, yesterday people were talking about Carmelo Anthony. Well, let's look at what Melo has done to Paul George. Let's talk about where Carmelo Anthony ranks at. Right? All NBA first team, 1 to Carmelo 0. All NBA team, they both have 6 apiece. All NBA defensive first team, Paul has 2 to Carmelo 0. All defensive teams, 4 to 0 goes to Paul George. Scoring leader, Paul George. Scoring leader 1-0 goes to Carmelo. Steals leader 1-0 goes to Paul George. So what is this? 4 out of 6 categories he beats T-Mac or Carmelo in, and 2, one of them they tied, and one of them Carmelo beats him out in. So he beats him out in the accomplishments and awards. Let's look at the averages. Stats per game, 23.1 points per game, 23.1 to 21.2 goes to Carmelo. Rebounds per game, 6.7 to 7.5 goes to PG. Assists per game, 4.1 to 2.5 goes to PG. Steals per game, 1.2 to 1.5 goes to PG. Blocks per game, 0.5 to 0.3 goes to PG. So he beats them out in statistics outside of scoring, which we know Carmelo is a prime scorer. So he beats him out in honors and awards. He beats him out in stats. Let's do this as well. So let me go to their peaks as well. Let me also go to their peaks. So I want to be fair. Let me go to their peaks. Best seasons. Let's talk about their best season. Let's talk about everything in totality. Now, this is their peak. So we see the longevity Paul has over Carmelo. But let's look at their peaks. 28.9 to 28 points per game goes to Carmelo. Points per game. Rebounds 8.2 to 8.1 goes to Paul George. 5.7 to 4.2 goes to Paul George. Steal per game 2.2 to 1.3 goes to Paul George. Blocks per game 0.8 to 0.6 goes to Carmelo. So 3 out of 5 categories Paul George beats him out of at their best season. Let's go to their playoffs, the best playoffs that they both had. Playoffs 30.7 points per game to 28.6 goes to Carmelo. Rebounds per game 10.3 to 9.6 goes to Carmelo. Assists per game 7.3 to 4.8 goes to Paul George. Steals per game 2.2 to 2.0 goes to Paul George. Blocks per game 2.0 to 0.8 goes to Paul George. So his longevity and his bet and his peak by the statistics, and not just by the statistics, the playoff success. He's another one. Carmelo, he only made it out of the first round one time in his career, and that was with the Denver Nuggets. He's never made it outside the first round outside of that one season. All them years in Denver, if I'm not mistaken, he only made it out the first round. Somebody can correct me if it was early on in his career, but I remember that 2009 year against the Lakers. They didn't get past the first round. You had Chauncey Billups, you had Allen Iverson, you had you know what I'm saying, you had Damian Lillard. And Carmelo's a little bit different. He didn't take the easy route, but you did help around you. I thought Carmelo was better than LeBron the first 2 years of their careers. But the longevity, he did not, after when he kind of got, you can say he got a little bit blackballed out the league as well. But as far as the longevity goes in the playoffs, bro, and when Paul George actually beat Carmelo when they went head to head in 2014, I mean, he's another one. Like, Paul George just beats him out in pretty much everything. If you talk about other than scoring the ball, he beats him out in everything else. He's had more playoff success. He's had more success leading his team. He's had more awards. He plays both ways of the basketball. I mean, he does more for your team on the court. And there's talk about even him being in. See, some of these guys, you got to remember too, I'm going to leave it at this. We got to separate who we like and what's real. Paul George ain't even my favorite player. Yes, I speak up for him a lot because he tends to be the one who gets a lot of just really bad logic and bad basketball talk. I just hate bad basketball talk. My favorite player of all time is Kobe Bryant. My favorite player right now is Kawhi Leonard. I like Paul George. But, you know, Draymond's right. If you remove your feelings and you just look at everything and just put his resume up there and put his body of work up there, this guy is a first ballot because it's about 7, 8 guys I've named. He has better resumes than. He has more playoff success than. His peak is higher, and he's still going. And like I said, he's still playing. This is a discussion. It ain't easy to get into. It's easy to get in the Hall of Fame. To be a first ballot Hall of Fame, I just named. There's only 54 guys in there. There's only 54. The only thing PG is missing is that championship. If he gets a championship, then that would solidify him for sure as first ballot and more, because he literally has done everything else on both sides of the basketball. But based off of what they say, that he has a higher percentage chance to get in there than Kawhi Leonard and Kyrie Irving, who have won championships, they're not going off of simply just rings, which I think is a mistake because that should make a difference. But it's a lot, the body of work and even the playoff success, because he's had playoff success. he has pretty much everything on his resume. The players know what it is, bro. So remove your feelings, remove your personal, vendettas. I mean, the whole thing, even the whole soft shit, man. He said that's your opinion, bro. Like this whole he's soft shit, bro. It's so annoying to keep hearing, bro. You can't be soft to come back from what he has to come back and change his entirety of his game, bro. He literally had to change the entirety of his game to play the level he's playing at. This style of play he changed after his game, bro. He was always just a person going down here, going to the basket and just dunking on everybody. That's not who he still can do it, but he changed his game. That's all that happened. Now, if you want to say he's moody, if you want to say that's all valid statements. But then again, the reason why he's moody is because all people who have a mic who ain't got no type of basketball background is allowed to talk. And it's not just him. A lot of these players are talking back to these reporters and these media people and all these content creators who don't know a goddamn thing about the game. Don't take time to study the game. Don't even take time to even understand the game. So I can see why some of these players are going back at people, because it's like y'all need to get a clue, bro. Anybody that says Paul George don't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame needs to be reevaluated. Anybody who says he doesn't deserve to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, you got to state the case to me. Then why is Tracy McGrady and Grant Hill is a first ballot Hall of Famer when I've already shown Paul George has done more in less time. Let's get out of our feelings, y'all, and let's start giving guys respect that actually deserve it. Because I might not like somebody either, but I'm not going to take credit away from somebody what they've done if they've earned it. But that's all I have to say, man. We're back on Clipper Talk later today. Until next time, pull up, pull up, check it live. Peace. Out of here like swimwear.
Paul George, a first ballot Hall of Famer.
I say 1,000%. Paul George got like 9 All-Star appearances. He got several All-NBA appearances. He has a gold medal. He has somewhere close to 20,000 points, I'm sure. If you look at some of the people that are in the Hall of Fame, Paul George had better careers than them. Paul George is absolutely a first ballot Hall of Famer with the body of work that he has. Are there some things you don't like about Paul George? You can say he didn't win. You can say whatever you want. They may be valid, maybe not. Didn't win is valid, okay. Is he soft? That's your opinion. Don't really matter. Paul George resume says first ballot Hall of Fame. If you remove Paul George's name from his resume, which then forces you to remove your feelings about Paul George, and you resume there and remove the feelings, remove the face, remove the name, that's a first ballot Hall of Fame resume. Point blank, period.
I'm feeling good, feeling alright tonight. I'm feeling good now. Yeah, it's all good in the neighborhood, homes. Little ride. I feel good, I feel alright. Cruising through my neighborhood on a warm summer night. I feel good. That's right, I feel good now. It's summer night. Summer days just sitting around, but when the sun goes down, I'll be ready to party. Them summer nights, keep the top on drop. All the girls looking hot, hit the photo and we just don't stop. Party until the morning light. Ain't nothing like them summer nights. I just kicked it at home. I polished up the chrome, called the Ruka on the phone. Let her know I'm home alone. It's 7:30 and the sun's going down. It's a summer night and the fun's going down. I pick her up and she looks all dolled up. Sitting passenger in my rag and Paula. Yeah.
I let her know that she looks beautiful to me. The world's an ugly place, but she is such a sight to see. The kind of woman that would put up a fight for me. The kind that wants to spend the summer nights with me. The temp was 80 and I'm cruising with my lady, playing some Rafi Bagan, who baby, baby. I see my homeboys and they're cruising in their rides with their ladies sitting by their side. People think we look crazy, but I think we look classy. But then again, that's only if you ask me.
Summer days just sitting around, but when the sun goes down, I'll be ready to party. Ain't nothing like them summer nights. Keep the top on drop, all the girls looking hot, hit the photo and we just don't stop. Party until the morning light. Ain't nothing like them summer nights.
My homeboys throwing the backyard boogie, so everybody gets together to unwind, relax, and have a fun time. The DJ's spinning, so I grab the mic and be like, ain't nothing like them summer nights. The party's packed with beautiful women and the gang of the homies that wanna get with them. And they'll say anything just to hit them, and it's usually a nice summer night when they did them. I don't know, it must be something in the air. Can't help but have a good time because the feeling is there. To some people, the feeling is rare. They're at the past saying, goddamn, I wish I was there. To have a drink, have a token, hook up with someone fine, but the kind that looks up. Gotta keep some pisto in the cup, party until the sun comes up, but we give up.
Summer days just sitting around, but when the sun goes down, I'll be ready to party. Ain't nothing like them summer nights. Keep the top on drop, all the girls looking hot, hit the photo and we just don't stop. Party until the morning light. Ain't nothing like them summer nights.
Summer nights can keep a smile on your face. Gotta try to have a good time with your life, otherwise it's just a waste. Either way, I'm gonna party just in case. Like Prince party like it was 99 and 87, 88. I couldn't ask for no better weather. I'm right next to the Pacific, to be specific. The candy paint job glows under the moonlight as I close out my summer night and say goodnight. It's time to put the top up and park it, drop it, unplug the ground, roll up the windows and lock it. Walk in the pad and fall into bed as she lays on my chest to rest her sleepy head. And we do this all night long, from dusk to dawn. But it's not quite the same when summer nights are gone. But even when they're gone, it won't be long. 8 more months and once again it's on.
Summer days just sitting around, but when the sun goes down, I'll be ready to party. Ain't nothing like them